趣的话。Okay, in the first week, we talk about something about security management. I think it is quite important for students, especially in commerce college, because of course, when you if you would like to do some security related job, of course, at the entry level, you are the employee who set up those monitors, who write programs. But however, if you are middle level managers, you have to think about some security related, especially security management related issues, as I introduced in next hour. Okay, so I think that's quite important. So we provide such kind of material for you to understand. Security is not only related to technology. Most of the time, in a company, it's related to sometimes political things, or most of the time they are managing problems. Okay, so make sure you understand the things. And next week we will not go over all the entire security management issues or problems you should know. So there are some books which is quite quite nice if you are interested in security management, especially some certificate. Okay, they do not care about your technical skill or programming skill. They focus on security management things. Okay, there are some certificate which are more management related certificate. Okay, and next week, okay, so next week we will go to another dimension, which is codes, algorithm, and mathematics things. And in the class we will teach in Mandarin and English. Okay, but for English students, all English materials will be online. So make sure you understand that. So you can simply, I think we have only 6 or 5 English students. So make sure you check the Google playlist online. Okay, which is good enough. Unless you have some document need to sign. Okay, we will handle it next week or next week. Okay, the second topics right here is cybersecurity. So so it's the same. If you are, it's right here. Okay, we have English video on demand playlist right here. If you are English students, you might want to check out the T02 slide. And if you're Mandarin students, you want to use this M01. Okay. So let's continue. Cyber attack. Okay. Here is a timeline. I drew this figure many years ago. So here's like that. The black dot. Those are very famous malicious cyber attack. Okay, the black dot are cyber attacks. Okay, from 90s, 80s, even after 2000 years. Okay, the blue dot are the technologies invented. 就是黑色点是攻击嘛，蓝色点是那个科技发明的时间点嘛。Okay, here's a note right here. Attacks are evolving， 就是它会演进嘛。Along with the new technologies. So in the early days, when we talk about security, cybersecurity, okay, we have a lot of personal computer, PC. In early days, they are not connected to the internet. So at that time, you want to separate your attacks. You have to put your malicious software in a floppy or CD, so you can propagate your malware along with the CD or floppy among your friends. 这听得懂吗？在早期没有联网的时候啊，你做一个恶意程式，你要在你的朋友圈里面散布，要怎么办？你就放在磁碟片里面嘛，或者是 CD 里面嘛，你这样才有办法散布嘛，对不对？ However, after all the PCs, all the computers are connected to the internet, the attack vector， 这个是外国人应该听得懂，但中文很难讲啊。 attack vector 的意思就是说它怎么样进入到你的电脑里面，这个叫做 attack vector 啊，这个字可以把它记起来。The attack vector of malicious software would be through the internet, because every computer are connected to the internet, right? So we have different new technology has been invented, right? So for example, after Windows 95, we have IE, right? Internet Explorer. So some attacks will focus on infecting the Internet Explorer through the internet. Okay, after we have Office, for example, 97. I'm not sure if you have used this this kind of old version of Office. At that time, we have Visual Basic Script, which can be embedded in your document. 我不知道你们有没有早的 Office 哦，就是那个时候有那个 Visual Basic， 就是 VB 嘛 ，VB 是可以嵌在那个 Office 的文件里面的。So when you open a document, for example, Word document, okay, the corresponding VB, 就是 Visual Basic Script, will be executed when you open the document. So some bad guys, they will try to use the VB, Visual Basic, to hide some malicious code in your document. Okay, and after we have what we have, for example, we have iPhone or Nessus. iPhone was invented in 2007, and the first Android smartphone is Nessus 1, announced in 2008 or 9. So after that, we have malicious software, which is focused on infecting your smartphone, cell phone, right? Because it is a very valuable devices. Okay, you store your pictures, you store your document, you store your emails in your cell phone. And have you ever heard about a firewall for cell phone? You have never heard about it. But you have a firewall for your company, right? So every time we have new stuff, new technologies, okay, and the corresponding hackers, okay, they will think, okay, that is a new technology. Maybe the security mechanism is not that good enough. So so the hackers will try to invade 就是入侵 invade those new devices or new technologies. For example, we have Tesla or PlayStation in 2012. So at that time, car becomes smart car, right? Beyond smart car. So they have operating system on it. They have connected devices. They have several sensors to have several monitors in your cars. So Tesla, the smart car, will become a new target for the attackers, right? Something like that. Okay, I just draw this figure many years ago, so you can take a look at this figure. Okay, we have different technologies. So let's talk about threat. A threat is a potential negative action or event facilitated by your vulnerabilities that result in an unwanted impact to a computer system or application. Okay, there are several terms you have to learn. Okay, in this sentence. Okay, threat in Chinese it is 威胁嘛你自己写如果你明写的话。那vulnerability, okay, we translate into 弱点。就是有时候我们会讲说，这个系统的弱点，那个弱点就是 vulnerability。OK， 那通常是什么呢？因为在一个系统里面，我们通常有这个系统想要它做的事情嘛。But for a system, we usually, okay, there's normal activities we think, okay, these systems can perform. For example, it is a database, so it can insert entries into a database. We can delete entries from the database. We can add a table, we can delete a table, something like that. However, for some attack, they enforce the database to do something that is not defined in your normal behavior. 就是有时候我们说一个系统出了问题，为什么？ 就有 bug 嘛，对不对？或是有一些问题嘛，它做一些你预期之外的事情，就是所谓的 unwanted behavior 嘛。那这 unwanted behavior 就会造成这个 unwanted impact， 那就是不好的。那所以我们才说嘛，我们上面有一堆的什么 monitor 啊、auditing 啊、testing 的事情啊，然后你才有办法去监控这个东西是不是如同你预期的在运作。如果不是，那就有问题了，那就是有自然的 incident 发生了。好吗？这是第一点。Okay, so there are several different aspects. Okay, first one, target. It can be an operation, organization operation. It can be an asset. It can be a database, or it can be someone. When we talk about social engineering, 中文翻译成社交工程 they target on the vulnerability on an individual. 就社交工程对象是某个个人嘛。You might be not well educated from the perspective of security. You might not aware of there are certain hackers that focus on you or your email. So your catalyst may harm to the system or your company. Okay, so the target would be various. It can be a system, can be a data asset, can be an individual, something like that. Okay, and the second thing is what we call attack vector. How those attacks get into your system. For example, unauthorized access, destruction, disclosure, modification of information, or denial of services. There are two, the last part, denial of services, we'll talk about later, okay? So, unauthorized access, deconstruction, disclosure, modification, they are all focused on information, right? So if you have a very nice, for example, access control list policy, okay? So unauthorized access will not happen in your system. And you have a very nice monitor to monitor the services, okay? If there is any unauthorized access, your monitor will know that and it will trigger an alert to your system administrator so they can try to deal with such kind of unauthorized access. Okay? But if you don't have disclosure, modification of information might occur. Okay, that's one type of attack vector. The other type is denial of service. 中文翻译成阻断式服务攻击嘛，如果后面接攻击的话，那简称是 DOS 嘛，这个要记得叫阻断式服务的攻击。OK， When we talk about availability，还记得吗？我们前面不是讲的那个一个叫做可用性嘛 ，availability。For example, if you have ticket selling system，就是那个售票系统。Okay, so every time, if it is a holiday, if it's Christmas or it is a Chinese New Year holiday, okay, it is very difficult for you to buy train ticket. Okay, if you are not, if your parents, your home is not in Taipei, you have to buy train ticket. So in a very short period of time, all the ticket requests will come from the entire internet to that web services. Right? So the services will suffer from the consumption of resources, such as the network bandwidth will be consumed because we have a lot of requests from the internet. The memory, the CPU, the disk, there are some resources on the website will be consumed. That is because there were large amount of requests from the internet and try to access the information or the service on that website， 对不对？就是你比如说春节回家买票，那一瞬间一开放的时候，有大量的订单的需求嘛，从网络上来嘛，它会塞爆那个机器嘛。那塞爆的这个层面有网络会塞爆它嘛，它有机体被吃掉嘛 ，CPU 运算资源有被吃掉。那这种所谓的 consumption of resources 就整个耗尽这一类的事情，就叫做 denial of service， 因为一旦耗尽之后，它就没有办法再接受更多的 request 了。So once you have consumed, I mean once the the attacker or the normal user, they consume all the resources of the server. The server cannot accept any further request from the other users. So that would be very dangerous because no one can access the website anymore, right? So we call it denial of service. The service might down and no one can access the service. So the service disappear. So that kind of situation we call denial of service. That is not necessary to being attack certain vulnerability to exploit a certain access control mechanism to try to modify some information. No, this is another different kind of attacks, which is called denial of service. Okay, agent. Okay, so who will attack our services or database? Okay, hostile nation states. Okay, Taiwan is a very special country, so we have some hostile countries or entities which would like to attack our infrastructure. Okay， 台湾是一个非常特别的地位哈，它在国际上我们有明确的敌对对象，跟以色列是一样的。所以台湾的国防工业，还有尤其资讯安全工业，跟以色列的资讯安全工业是在国际上非常有名的，因为我们花了很多钱在这方面上面。好，那spy, organized crime organization, insiders. Okay, sometimes insider is I think it is one of the most important we call agent to destroy our services or infrastructure. 就是在我们一般的概念里面呢，就是 insider 就是内部人员嘛，他是这个非常的 straightforward 嘛，你想嘛，你是个公司里面的人，然后你想要偷公司的东西是比较简单嘛，对不对？所以if you were the security manager, you have to I've said that you have some rules or SOP that try to monitor the entire systems, right? Not only you have to monitor the incoming traffic or incoming hackers from the outside, you have to monitor to audit the employee in your system because they might be insiders. Okay, gray hat, black hat, white hat. Okay, they are hackers, but they have different purpose. Okay, when we talk about white hat, 就是白帽骇客嘛，如果我们要这样讲话 ，they simply just they're good guys. They found exploitation or some vulnerability in your system, and they will notice you if you are the system administrator. So you have time to patch your system. Okay, so after you patch your system, they may announce such kind of vulnerability on the internet. So they are good guys. Okay, so black hat 就是黑帽的骇客。So on the other hand, they are black hats are okay. Frankly speaking, they are bad guys. They just try to exploit or try to invade your system without your notice. Okay, gray hat is some kind of between black hat and white hat. Okay, and you have to think about one thing. It is not only humans or human beings or programs that will attack your system. Natural disaster is one of the important agents that might destroy your systems. For example, earthquake, tsunami, volcano, something like that. So so most of the time when you make your system more robust, you might need a backup in some other country or some other physical place. 就是说，有时候我们都在讲说我们要防范人嘛，防范攻击的城市嘛，但是有时候这个什么自然灾害也是个问题嘛。那很多公司就会选择，比如说你在台北有个机房，那你另外机房就放去台中或者高雄，或者甚至放在国外，这个也是要考量到的啦。Okay, excellent actions authorized users. Okay, authorized is similar to insiders. Okay, those are agents. So Most of the time, those attack, they do have some reasons to do such kind of harmful things. For example, profitable. They can sell your data. For example, if you are a bookstore, online bookstore, you may have the credit card, you may have the ID of your customers, you may have the address or email address of your customers. They can sell it in the black market easily to get money, right? Show off 就是有些人是炫耀型的，那个就另当别论了。Of course, there are several different types of threat, but I think we will not go over all those things. Okay, we will not go over all these things because we will see different kinds of attacks in the following class. Okay, we will show you how they attack your systems. How do we collect their executable files? How do we collect their packets from the internet? Something like that. And after we collect those information, we will analyze it, and we know what is we will know what is the different types of attacks. Okay, how? And that is quite straightforward. After you have been attacked, there are some consequences, 就是被攻击的后果嘛. Okay, I think that is very straightforward. So you can simply just read them by yourself. Okay, unauthorized disclosure. Deception, disruption, something like that. Okay. Here I would like to show you a very specific attack. Okay, so like you can feel how an attack invade your system. Okay. Before that, we have several different classes to classify malicious software. Okay. For example. Did you know what is the difference between virus and worm? Virus in Mandarin 就是病毒嘛，对不对？啊 ，worm 中文叫做网络蠕虫。蠕虫就是那个在英文的里面呢，他们的 worm 就是像泥鳅的那种虫，叫做 worm 他们是不一样的OK， usually virus。那 virus 就是病毒嘛，那他们的取名都是跟生物学有关，对不对？所以在病毒里面是这样，你像 COVID-19 病毒，你们知道，就是病毒不是生物，它只是一段基因，所以它必须要附着在细胞上才能生存。所以同样的for the word virus, okay, virus is not a life creature, it's just kind of a piece of DNA sequence. The DNA sequence, the virus should be attached to live cells so that it can replicate itself. So when we talk about computer virus, we are talking about some programs that attached to some executable files. And it propagates or it replicates itself along with the attached executable files. 在讲没有？就是病毒啊，我们所谓的电脑病毒啊，它其实就一小块的code，那小块的code会附着在可执行档上，可执行档在散播的时候，它也会跟着散播；可执行档执行的时候，它也会被执行，然后它就可以复制它自己在下一份可执行档上面。所以我们讲的是这个动作，因为它跟真正的病毒是几乎是同样的感觉的。So when we talk about worm, what is worm? Worm is a live creature. So if you split a worm, okay, it becomes true worms, right? So it can self-replicate itself. It can propagate itself. 中文就是说 worm 也是一样 ，worm 就是蠕虫嘛，所以把虫切一半，它不是就自我复制跟自我繁殖吗？对不对？所以在电脑里面 ，so in computer worms is the same. Worm is an executable file. It can propagate itself. It can replicate itself. You don't have to do anything about to that worm. So it can separate itself through the internet very rapidly. Okay, so that's two different kinds of attack. We will show you what a worm looks like. Okay, in next slide. Okay. So that is the syntactic meanings. That the syntactic meanings. of virus and worm. The semantic menace means after it invades into your system, no matter it is a worm or it is a virus, once it in your computer, PC or Mac, whatever, it further do something which is malicious or harm to your system. For example, phishing. Phishing means it shows some pages or some website so that you click the link and you download something you don't want, unwanted program. Okay, it may hijack your mouse so they click some ads so the hacker can make profit from by hijacking your mouse, right? Trojan horse 就是特洛伊木马了哈。So it is like the same, okay? When it enter your computer, you don't know it is a harmful program. It may it may disguise itself as a normal, for example, a video player, a photo, a PDF file, something like that. So you believe it is a normal file, but actually it is not. So it's like a Trojan horse. 就是说特洛伊木马就是它伪装成好样的东西，但是你进到你的电脑里面，但里面其实并不是好东西，比如说一个播放器啊，一个解压缩的软体啊，一个你想下载的程式，对吧？Botnet is a little bit different. We'll show you it later. Okay, so I'll provide a very one specific attack called Blaster Worm. Okay, there are some information about this worm is right here, but I would like to show you this figure. Okay, so 小格一点哈，可以吧？再小格一点。So let's take a look at this figure. Okay, I think that's good enough. Okay. Blaster was a very famous blast back in 2003 and 04， 就是2003年的时候，这个我们叫暴风蠕虫的这个攻击是非常有名的哈。那我们看看它怎么运作的。Basically, it had 3 different entities: the attacker at the left-hand side, the victim, which is the target host at the right-hand side, and then a third-party website, which is windowsupdate.com. Okay, we have 3 different entities. Okay, so at the left-hand side, the attacker has a malicious executable file, which is msblast.exe. It is an executable file on Windows. Okay, so the first step is the attacker execute this purple executable file. Okay, so let's follow the numbers. The first thing is it will create a blaster worm code, which it makes the worm code will be in the memory. Okay, it is a process. The first thing is create a register. Okay, and check the mutex. I'm not sure if you are familiar with the concept of mutex, but it is a kind of information that to guarantee there's only one copy of Blaster worm code in that operating system. It's just you can think it's just a variable, 0 or 1. So if it's 0, means there's no worm code in this operating system. If it is 1, that means someone set it to 1, and it indicates there's only one copy of the worm code in this operating system. So let's just make sure it is the only one worm code in this operating system. So it check the register, check the mutex. Okay, so that's step number 1. Okay, the number 2 is it is a worm. So this worm would like to propagate itself among via the internet. Okay, so it tried to search the next victim on the internet. So the step number 2 is propping. Okay, I think it will randomly select 20 IPs, really random IPs in the internet, and try to connect it, try to open a socket and connect to the random host. Okay, if this host is online, so number 2, it will do a 3-way handshake, and this is a TCP 3-way handshake, and I believe you know what it is. Okay, so if the victim is online, there is an RPC service it is a socket, okay, open at TCP port 135. And at that time, it is a vulnerable services provided by Windows. So every Windows system at that time, okay, they do have such kind of vulnerable service listen at TCP port 135. So if the attacker randomly select 20 IPs, it has some chances to connect to the vulnerable service at step number 2. Okay, step number 3 is right here. Okay, the worm code will further open a new process, which is called thread 2, thin flooded. Okay, this thread, this process, this thread will further do flooding, which is send a lot of TCP SYN packet to the third-party website, which is windowsupdate.com. So that, as we mentioned before, it is a kind of denial of service attack because it sends tons of TCP SYN packet. So we send a lot of socket and they will consume the memory, the socket on that windowsupdate.com, that machine. So that at that time, the windowsupdate.com will not be able to serve and other users because all the resources, all the memory, all the CPU, all the network lines will be full of those kind of flooding things. So the socket will not be able to create it for the new incoming request. Okay, so that is step number 3. Okay, but it only happens for a specific date and time. That I forgot what time it was. Okay, so step number 3. So step number 4, if it indeed, the attacker indeed find a vulnerable service on the internet from that random 20 IPs, okay, it further do the protocol, they will exchange messages, okay, based on the protocol, which is RPC protocol. Okay, so step number 4. But there's a very specific things for this attacker. Okay, when they exchange protocol message by using RPC protocol, the attacker will send exploited code in the protocol message, and that is an abnormal packet. So that after step number 4, after the vulnerable RPC service receives such kind of protocol message, which contain exploited code, that RPC service will crash because the message inside that packet is quite abnormal, quite malicious. They don't know how to handle such kind of message because it is an undefined message. So it crashed. The purple vulnerable RPC service crash. But before crash, 4.1, the server can use the exploit code to control the purple RPC service and further create a new process, which is called shellcode. And the shellcode will open a new socket at TCP port 4444, and then the purple one crash. And the shellcode will be controlled by the attacker. So the further things quite straightforward. The blaster worm code will, at step number 5, will try to communicate with the TCP port 4444. So the worm code will instruct the victim to do something malicious, of course. Okay, what did they do? At the left-hand side, the server create a TFTP server, which is a file server. At the right-hand side, the shellcode asks your Windows to open a TFTP client, which is a file downloader, so they can communicate with each other to download the purple msblasted.exe file from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. So the file goes to the right-hand side. So that's it. So after that, the victim has the purple msblast.exe file. So further, they can execute this file. So the victims becomes a new attacker. So you can see that in this entire process, no human involvement is in this process. 中文说，在这整个流程里面就没有人的介入哦。Because there's a vulnerable service, all the Windows XP has such kind of services. So no human beings need to involve in this process. They automatically do such kind of infection propagation. So in 2003 and 04, such kind of a worm attack is very, very famous, very, very popular. I think thousands or 10,000 or even millions of PC has been infected by such kind of attack because no human beings need to involve such kind of process, and every Windows XP has such kind of vulnerable services. 好吗？这是一个流程哈，你可以想一想哈，它就是完全非常的自动。左边执行了东西之后，就试试看右边有没有东西啊。右边如果有那个 service， 就攻破它。攻破它是一些机体上的问题，这我们就不谈了哈。然后你就可以散播到下一个。那你散播到下一个之后，你就让 victim 再成为新的 attack， 就像刚刚不是说1对20吗？如果你运气好的话，就是1对20，20对400，400再对什么？400再对8000，它的那个指数的成长速度是非常非常快的，啊，它就感染全球。And at that time, it's a very early time, so we don't have many firewall to protect our Windows. But currently, our Windows has a very basic firewall that can help you to defend such kind of attack. But at that time, Windows XP do not have any firewall mechanism to defend such kind of attack. OK， 现在的 Windows XP 里面有一些简单的防火墙机制，就可以这样挡住。但是早期的时候是没有的，所以它就这样一直散播，一直散播下去。OK， so at this moment for us, okay, what kind of data we can collect and try to analyze those things? Okay, at left hand side we have msplus.exe. It is a file. It is an executable file, so we can collect lots of exe file, and we use AI technology, use machine learning algorithm to analyze an exe file and to determine if this file is more likely a malicious file or it is a benign file. Benign 就是好的， malicious 就是坏的， right? So if we can collect tons of malicious files and tons of benign files, we can use AI to learn, okay, how a malicious file looks like, how benign files looks like. So that in the future, maybe there's an unknown file in your system. We can use AI to say, okay, based on your learning experience, what is how possible this file can be a malicious file or a benign file. 就是我们可以收集一堆好档案跟一堆坏档案嘛，然后我们叫 AI 去学嘛，说好档案有什么特征，坏档案有什么特征，所以未来当有新的东西来的时候，你就可以叫 AI 去判断说这个新的 unknown 的东西到底比较偏向好档案，比较偏向坏档案。That's one of the things that AI can do in security data. We will talk about these things, I think, in our 6th week slide. Okay, and further, we have network packet, okay, transmitted between attacker and victim. So we can collect all the packet, right? So we have those interaction between the attacker and victim. So it's the same. We can collect a lot of traffic, which is labeled as normal, and we can collect a lot of packet, which is generated by attackers. And we can tell AI, okay, this bunch of traffic are generated by normal communication, and the other ones are generated by the attackers. So the AI can learn what is the difference between these two traffic traces. So in the future, if there is a new attack or a new communication packet, okay, we can differentiate normal packet and malicious packet. 啊，这听得懂吗？就跟刚刚一样嘛，对不对？我们中间的这个风暴是可以收集的啊，一样嘛，我们就叫 AI，我们就去收集一堆好风暴跟一堆坏风暴啊，然后我们叫 AI 去学啊，说好风暴长这样，坏风暴长这样，所以未来有新的攻击或者是新的 traffic 来的时候，你就叫 AI 去看嘛，这到底是好的还是坏的，比较偏向好的还是偏向坏的一个几率嘛，对不对？那我们一样，我们在后面的应该是比较靠期中考的时候，我们也会有类似像这样的东西。So I think that is quite demonstrated how an attack affect another victim and what kind of information we can collect from the from the attack. Okay, and even more, those blaster worm code, those shell code, those vulnerable process. Okay, which is quite colorful right here. We can also analyze the codes as well. We can analyze the code in the memory to help us. Okay, that is a malicious thread. That is a malicious worm code. That is a malicious, or it is a benign code. OK， 好吗？就是那些粉色、那些有颜色、那些这个在记忆体里面的东西也是可以分析的，这我们后面的课程都会讲。OK，I think that is quite good. OK, so we have 10 minutes. So I would like to show you one thing, which is called attack life cycle. Okay, so if you take a look at this website, not this one, but I think that's 我们用这个来讲好了。And as you can see, attack is not just a file or a packet. It is a process to complete the entire ongoing course of the attack. There should be some phases, some steps need to do to complete the entire attack, right? So if there is any formal way to describe an attack, yes, there is. We call it attack life cycles right here, attack life cycle. So basically, there are several different models to describe how many steps, how many phases an attack can have. Okay, I think there are two major models we call attack life cycle models. Okay, the first one is invented by, the name is right here. Okay, Lockheed Martins. 就是中文是洛克希德马丁嘛，就是做战机的那家公司嘛。哦，他们也是有在做资讯安全的这个国防工业的，他们不是只做飞弹跟飞机而已哈。那they define I can make it smaller. Okay, they think the entire course of an attack, no matter what kind of attack it is, they can be divided into 7 different phases or parts. Okay, so let's just go through this figure. Okay, the first one is reconnaissance. Reconnaissance 就中文就翻译成侦测嘛。你要攻击别人之前，你总得知道别人的公司里面有什么机器啊，网络配置是怎么样子的啊，有什么样的 server 存在啊，有没有防火墙啊，有没有 monitor 啊。So the first step of an attack, you should be able to understand what is the environment, what is the infrastructure you would like to attack. If there is any antivirus system, if there is any firewall system, or if there is any auditing monitoring system. So we call it reconnaissance. And what is the possible vulnerability or possible victims you can find? So it's right here. It's exactly the same as here. The step number 2 is the probing. Probing 就是探测的意思嘛。So you have to know if there is a vulnerable service right there. Of course, Blaster use a very not that good strategy, which is a random IP. Okay, it just randomly select 20 IPs and try to probe if this IP has such kind of RPC vulnerable services. Okay, so after you understand the infrastructure of your target, okay, the vulnerability of your target, then you do what? You do weaponization, 就是武器化. You have to find out a way to invade that attack, right? So that's right here. The step number 4, okay, it's right here. copying exploited with backdoor into deliverable payload. It's not necessary to be a backdoor. That is, how do you deliver your code, your exploitation, 就是剥削的那些东西哈 into the remote vulnerable services. Right, that's step number 2. Step number 3, deliver. Then you actually send those packets, send this file, send this email, send whatever to deliver 嘛，就是送嘛，对不对？送 deliver those weaponized to your target. Email can be one of the way. Web page, maybe one of the way. USB drive, maybe one of the way to deliver the things. Okay. Number 4, exploitation. Once you deliver those things to the remote target, it should be execute or perform some malicious things, right? So it's called exploitation. Usually there should be some vulnerability so that you can exploit the vulnerability. 中文叫做剥削那个弱点，剥削那个弱点。But sometimes the vulnerability is not on the code, on the program. Sometimes, as I mentioned, it's on the human beings. 就是有时候那个弱点是在人身上，比如说你就误点了某个连结误开了某封信，误开了什么，那不一定弱点是发生在人身上还是在机器身上，都可以。Okay, so number 5, after they exploit your vulnerability, no matter if it's a human vulnerability or it's a code programming vulnerability, and then you can install whatever the attack want to run on your PC or your Mac or your system. Okay, so here is called C&C, right? Command and control. Usually, they will control the hacker will control your program, your computer. Okay, just as what we see right here, number 7, right? It has a shell code, it has a worm code. The worm code and shell code communicate with each other, so they can exchange command. They can instruct the shell code to do something that attacker want to do. Okay, number 7. Actions on objectives. So after they install their malicious code or worm code in your victim on the victim, okay, they have a communication between the attacker and the victim. They can exchange commands, and then those commands should be performed, right? So that is actions. Okay, and at that time, it really doesn't matter because the attacker already control your PC, so he or she can do whatever she wants or he wants, right? So that is one of the we call cyber kill chain or attack life cycle, something like that. That's one of the attack life cycle. The other one is, so that is definition. You can find you can simply just Google kill chain. Okay, we'll have a lot of explanation about the kill chain. Okay, the other one is MITRE ATT&CK matrix. I think these two will be the most famous model to describe an attack. Okay, that is a little bit different. Okay, MITRE ATT&CK is they have 14 different we call tactic. Tactic 就是战术嘛。Okay, and in an attack, okay, it may use certain tactics among these 14 tactics 战术 okay, and in each tactics there will be a lot of techniques 就是这个值横的有14项是tactic 战略直的是 technique 中文翻译成战术。So an attack should go through the entire life cycle. They can select different tactics, and among each tactics, there are several different techniques they can use. So there should be a path among these techniques. 就是我刚刚说嘛，攻击是个连续的动作嘛，对不对？那它这边把它分成14个大类，那每大类里面有很多不同的 techniques。那你就会把那些事情就一一的对应到每一小类里面 Okay, let's take some example. For example, the first tactic is also reconnaissance，就是它的第一类跟刚刚那个多克希的马丁的第一类是一样的。That is reconnaissance. So if you click this, it will explain what is reconnaissance and what kind of techniques should be built into the reconnaissance technique. For example, you can do active scanning. You can do hardware reconnaissance. You can do firmware reconnaissance. You can do email address reconnaissance, whatever. There are tons of techniques that teach you how to do reconnaissance, and that fell into different technique categories. Okay, so that is very important. So because we have too many attacks occurs every year, so it is a labor-intensive and time-consuming process to analyze and attack. 就是说，每一年发生的攻击量其实非常多的，所以人去分析它，或者是要花时间去分析它，它是非常耗时间的。So usually security expert really they collect those packet traces, they collect those executable files, and try to do reverse engineering, try to realize and try to understand what exactly the attack want to do. But it is time consuming, it is labor intensive. So currently in security, we say domain field, security field, we try to use artificial intelligence to help us to analyze those executable files, those traces. And we like to build such kind of model, okay? So that we can know, okay, this attack has T002 tactics, and it use 5 different techniques to do something like that. So currently we have, for example, we have some research project like, if I give you the executable file, can you analyze the executable file and tell me which technique has been used by this specific exe file? 就是说，我们现在因为人都很讨厌去分析那种很复杂的东西，要花时间嘛，所以我们现在就叫 AI 去分析。所以你随便给他一个 packet， 或者随便给他一个档案，那看有没有办法说他做出一个分类器，或者是一个语言模型或者 whatever， 这个我们会教哈。就跟我们讲说，这个攻击现在到底发生了什么事情？它的这个攻击的模型里面到底是哪一个战术跟哪一个战略，然后就直接就告诉我们，这样子我们再分析起来会比较有效率，比较快。然后也知道他严重，因为后面还有那种他做了什么坏事哈，就有很多东西。所以也就是说，我们想要把这个攻击这件事情比较规整化，比较 formal 的表示它，那我们就可以大家做这样的分析。那我们以后的课程里面应该会有一个作业是，我们会随便给你一些封包或者是档案，然后我们就会问你说，你可不可以写一个自动 AI 程式，告诉我它这14类里面的哪一类，类似像这样的东西。这样每一年，你知道每一年有数万个、数十万个 malware 被新产生出来的，因为那些骇客也是蛮可怕的哦。那我们分析的资料能力不够，那我们就叫 AI 帮我们分析嘛。那 AI 要分析什么？我们就找一个规整化，就是一个非常 formal 的东西，把所有的攻击全部都容纳在这个模型里面，然后就看怎么样可以好好的分析它们，好吗 ？Okay, so that is the material of the first week. So we stop right here. So 我们也讲完了嘛，对不对？因为后面就没有了嘛。So that's it. Okay, that's it. So basically, please come to the class next week. We will deal with the enrollment issues. And for English students, you simply just take a look at this schedule, okay? So this week, we have T01 and T02. For next week, you have T03 and T04. And for Mandarin students, you please come to the classroom. We will go over another slide, which is M02 and M03. And if possible, bring your computer, because I think it's more efficient for you to learn what I've told you. Okay? 好，先这样吧。